Let's do it. How we adapt to this moment will rest at the feet of 5 booming areas of technology that I call the 5 A's. Before I get to them, there are a few qualifiers for how I think about this chaotic environment around us. Number 1, our world has changed a lot, and the rate of change has been exponentially explosive. It took us roughly 63,000 years to get from making a bow and arrow to making a light bulb, whereas the mainstreaming of the internet has changed our entire planet in 30 short years. Number 2, change is inevitable. We can resist it our whole lives and run from it, but at some point the world moves on. People progress. The same people who say they'll never do anything with biometric scanning today were the same people destroying cars that they referred to as devil wagons in 1907. That's a duality of technology. It can be hopeful or fear-inducing. It can do good or unleash wrong. And as one generation resistant to change fades, the next one is behind them waiting. They will be open to this, and they will use it to adapt to the problems they face. And number 3, this isn't a conversation for only scientists. Creatives, dreamers are essential to this equation. We see the world just a little bit differently. So that's where I come in. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a huge geek, and my wife was tired of listening to me talk about this stuff. And I'm a futurist, and along the way I picked up the camera. My name is Pouya Dianat, and as Molly said, I was born in Tehran, Iran in 1985. I grew up in the DC suburbs where my dad's job kept the latest computer gadgets stocked in our house. We were the first people on the block with internet and a CD burner. And I feel really privileged that I lived in a time where it was possible for a small child in Iran to get on a plane, come to the land of opportunity, take a front row seat for everything changing, settle in the South, marry a sweet Jewish girl, just like my ancestors had planned for me many, many generations ago. I say this so you understand that change has been a part of my life since the second I was born. Today, Atlanta is my chosen forever home. I'm the managing director of Beam Imagination, and the Beam team is unafraid of change. In the tech upheaval that happened in our creative industry around us, cameras, sensors, computers, social media, all democratizing the storytelling process, we started building on our foundation of photography to leverage the storytelling tools of tomorrow. From designing our own 360-degree rigs early on in 2014, to using state-of-the-art stabilized gimbal technology, and to working with schools like Georgia State and Emory to help them map Oakland Cemetery. That's why I'm obsessed with this next wave of technology. Hey, it happens. We're playing footage in 360 here. It's this coming wave of technology that I'm describing is something that will redefine our understanding of humanity. If these tools can revolutionize, and here's some of those examples, our 360-degree rigs, some of the work we were lucky to help Georgia State and Emory do, and even how we've used cameras in very weird places. I've seen how all of these tools have come together to help us revolutionize something as old as storytelling. So the possibilities for how we can solve problems are endless. These 5 overlapping and connected ideas, the 5 A's: alternative energy, augmented reality, autonomous assistance, artificial intelligence, and adaptive systems, they will change us fundamentally. Change used to be something that was occasional, and now it's just the norm. I'll describe each of these briefly, provide some examples of what they're doing today, and where we'll be 5, 10, 25 years. And we really wanted to do this here so that you guys could see these things, that it's not just a thing that I'm talking about, but that you actually see it grow around you. So. And the first A is autonomous assistance. Technology used to design and remove tedium from our lives, increase our productivity, our efficiency, and accuracy in our life's daily tasks. A few years ago, it unleashed Roomba and voice assistant into our lives, but guess what? It can do a lot more than eat my socks and never be able to spell my name. Today, it's hitting the open roads through companies like Tesla and Waymo, who we saw some of that footage from. This driverless movement is going to reshape our whole world. Commuting will become a thing of minutes. Speed limits and infrastructure shift to support what will be a safer, more efficient system in Georgia. Waymo has already started using autonomous trucks to haul loads to Google's data centers here for a year. UPS has 150 Tesla semis on order. And our hopefully soon-to-be neighbor Amazon has defined what drones could do for us in this space. And you can see some of those around you. You have Tesla semi-trucks, what Ford is doing, and even an autonomous drone. The naysayers today will call out every accident, every misstep, every error that happens in this infancy. But the industry knows we're on the cusp of cars, drones, and other forms of mobility creating an autonomous network. Bob Lutz, a former chairman at GM, lamented that the era of the automobile is over last year. I don't see that as a bad thing. Human-operated cars, instead of leading to 1,000+ deaths in Georgia every year, will become little autonomous pods that zip us around. Some people even believe that car ownership will be gone and that you can choose who you want to share your autonomous car with. Ford has actually created a subsidiary just devoted to this, to focusing on autonomy, broader mobility solutions, and different ownership models, and they want to be at scale on this in 2021. You can see some of their work right there. And while these near-term advances are going to be in the mobility space, where autonomous assistants will physically help us around the world, by taking computers and teaching them to understand the world perfectly, we will be letting computers enter our homes, much like desktops once did. And some of those will be coming from a company like Boston Dynamics. This year, Boston Dynamics will go consumer-facing with Spot Mini. It's a little dog that can run around and open doors and carry things for you. And the rest of their lineup is even more terrifying. Atlas can do backflips and really puts me to shame as far as my physical abilities. And there's even companies like KUKA Robotics, where their industrial arms are now being deployed in factories to reduce injuries in dangerous environments, handling high-risk jobs. After autonomous driving, we'll see robots replace many repeatable and tedious jobs. Thinking on the longer term, there's even companies like Relativity Space. Their plan is to leapfrog the universe by sending rockets with 3D printer arms on them, and every planet they land on, they'll just reprint their next rocket. And you can see some of this, how computers understand the world. That's Spot Mini right there. They're going to sell quite a few of those. The next day, alternative energy. As I said, technology often holds hope for reversing the chaos, usually set on by technology itself. So all these advances that have made us be able to appreciate our lives and be comfortable and grow the middle class, it's come because we have fuel. We can move around. But now we have to adapt to what our planet is saying to us, what our climate is saying to us. From solar to wind and tidal technology, our civilization is going to be dependent on capturing power through natural means. There's actually a rubric for how advanced your civilization is. It's called the Kardashev scale by someone named Nikolai Kardashev. He said that our civilization is as advanced as how much power we're able to capture from our star. On his 3-point rubric, we're currently at a 0.72. That means we're not doing too hot. But as you guys can see around you, this is Georgia Power's rooftop at their main headquarters. They're trying to tick that number a little bit higher. They're testing 7 different photovoltaic panel arrays out there, and they're analyzing those for their effectiveness, seeing what tools are the best ones. And at their Energy Innovation Center, they're exploring all of these different A's and how they're going to be a part of their core competency in the years to come. Every new photovoltaic panel that goes up gets us a little closer to that goal from Nikolai Kardashev. In Plains, Georgia, Jimmy Carter has actually powered his whole little town off of solar. And if you look right there, that's Elon Musk, who's going to come up a ton. Just warning you. His shingles that go on the roofs of houses are going to be able to power your home, your car, and they don't look any different than a normal shingle. Futurists and scientists, though, are already looking way, way ahead. And as you can see in some of the other examples around you, there's moon-based solar arrays and space-based solar power, where people want to send satellites up, satellites that can keep capturing power at all points of the day, because sun power loses 60% of its energy coming through our atmosphere. And that's if it doesn't get blocked by clouds. The US, China, Russia, and Japan are already investing in building roadmaps to this future with space-based solar power. The next day, artificial intelligence. This is computational knowledge, and it's 7 different categories of what are called weak or narrow AI. That's reasoning, knowledge representation, planning, learning, language processing, perception, and moving and manipulating objects. When you guys hear AI in your day-to-day lives, it's not general intelligence yet. It's not Westworld, thank goodness. It's a couple of these aspects of weak AI that have come into play. And there's a lot of examples for those that will pop up here. We have a company in Nashville called Red Pepperland. They made a system that finds Waldo. Very cool. And as you'll see in the example, someone said they could make that system, but they weren't able to make a normal looking hand that pointed at it. That'll pop up here in 1 second. And in the other areas, we've had computers beat humans in very advanced games like Go. And all of these things are because we're giving machines an opportunity to learn. Over there we have OpenAI, which through machine learning and testing is actually getting dexterity to be taught faster than humans learn it. And like I brought up earlier, voice assist is already helping us a ton in our lives. The real question though is, when will strong AI become a thing? That's taking all of these and combining them into one machine with general intelligence. Ray Kurzweil, who's a futurist thought leader in the area, says that by 2029, AI will already be as smart as us. And in 16 short years, that knowledge will have increased 1 billion-fold. 1 billion-fold. That's why Elon thinks AI is going to kill us all. But there are companies, there's actually a partnership on AI. There's more than 70 partners that include Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and they're already having conversations about how can we discuss these ethical boundaries to AI as it continues to rapidly advance. So earlier, and this is, of course, if we're talking about data and learning, got to talk about Google. This is one of their data centers here in Georgia. Augmented reality is the next A. You might notice earlier that I wrote augmenting reality, and that's because augmented reality, AR, has really come to just be defined as visuals right now because that's what people are selling. But really what this is, it's more than a HoloLens, it's more than any of those things coming from Magic Leap. It's how sensors and material science are going to come together and amplify our biologically given senses. It's not just about seeing things that aren't in front of you, it's about hearing better, touching better. And I want to show some of these examples. AR today is some of these examples you see around you. Kayak had made a tool for making sure your baggage fits in an overhead bin. But where it's going is right over there. This is a now defunct company called Doppler Labs. Their work's been picked up by Google since they went out, but they wanted to put small computers in your ear that can translate in real time, and they can also drown out very specific annoying noises. Sony has even drawn plans for a contact lens that'll go into your eye that will show a camera and one day AR. One artist, if you can turn around here behind you, showed why creatives are important to this conversation. He illustrated a world where AR goes wrong. And you can certainly see that's nothing that we want to be a part of. And that's why all of you guys talking about this like it's a real thing, that it's happening, is going to be very important, because we don't want to live in that reality. What if instead these biometrically attached systems in our eyes and wearables that we can wear that augment our senses? What if they understood, hey, your body's had too much stimulation from the computer. I'm gonna dial it back down. What if it was able to do face detection so that the people you're friends with on Facebook you have actually faced? Imagine what that could do to fixing things like cyberbullying or catfishing. I've never been catfished. But there are pioneers out there that are using organic electronics, things that stimulate your blood vessels to recreate the sense of haptic touch. And you can see one of those handheld gloves up here as well. Some people are eager for this bionic future, me. A chip in your ear that tunes the world out, one in your eye that tunes into what you care about. But we all need to be on the front lines of talking about it. This brings me to the last A, one that is so important that it encompasses all of the other A's, and it fits the topic of chaos so seamlessly. And that is adaptive systems. This is where the physical side of autonomy, capturing the energy of the sun, artificially intelligent brains that we're creating, and the human sense augmented are all going to come together. Simply put, an adaptive system is a lot of different entities talking to each other, telling each other what's happening in the world around them. And I always love starting from this really basic example. I hate intersections. I also hate driving. But look at over there. It's 50 cars lining up and waiting their turns to go. That's what humans need, because humans make a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of errors. If you look at some of the other screens, you can see where adaptive systems come in. Adaptive systems, their defining trait is that they are designed to operate until the very cliff of chaos. They can go within inches of hitting another car without hitting it, and thereby achieve their goal. Humans can't do that. This ecosystem is going to be really important for our future, and it's going to go beyond cars. For a long time, we ourselves were adaptive systems. We're now in a position where we're creating them. And whether that's the swarm of driverless cars you see, or drones, or even micro-robot pollinators that'll replace bees, or software-driven farms. If you guys have heard of companies like Aero Farms, Plenty, and even Georgia Power has an urban agriculture initiative. If you consider our booming population, the wildly changing climate, then this sort of vertical farming is going to be necessary. More crops, more reliable, less waste. And one of the early investors in Plenty from DCM Ventures actually described the food as beyond organic. They don't want to label their food organic because it's even better than that. They call themselves a software company, not a farming company. Every drop of water, every nutrient is going into controlled shipping environments that are adapting farms to a less stable world. On an even more human level, the nutrition, a great example is about medicine and healthcare and how adaptive systems will help us there. As our life expectancy increases, our bodies fall. But we live in a time where therapies like 3D printing organs, like a company from Organovo, to living medicines that fight viruses inside your body, and more accessible forms of healthcare, like what they're doing by the Healthineers at Siemens, are really, they're using computers on the front lines to diagnose people before they go to a doctor, because computers are more precise, they can learn more and hold more data sets. We are going to begin taking control of our own lives and adapting our bodies to the fact that we are aging and living differently. In the mobility space that I've talked a lot about, adaptive systems are going to be even more important. We're going to go from a world of just planes, trains, and automobiles to one that encompasses the Hyperloop, Virgin Galactic, Boom Aerospace, and scooters. And I am good on a scooter, by the way. I have not crashed yet. All of these things are really different, important pieces of the mobility puzzle. So that Bird scooter to get a 1-mile jaunt to Bell Street Burritos, or a Hyperloop to get a 300-mile away burrito. It's all good. It's all gonna help fragment this travel and transport landscape, and it's companies like Virgin, Rolls-Royce, and Boom that are starting to do that today. Adaptive systems are gonna be our answers for how we answer chaos, how we rein it in, and how we travel, how we eat, how we live. I hope by seeing some of these examples that have helped proven my points that the world is changing faster and faster. We can't stop it, and the people who think outside the box are the ones that are going to hold some of these answers. So what I want everyone in here to do is go out and embrace this chaos. Don't think that this is so far away that it won't impact you, because if you do, the consequences are going to be dire. From a brand standpoint, for the people you work with, if companies don't see how these 5 A's will impact their core competency, they're going to go out of business. Innovation has to be part of your DNA today, no matter what you do. And the concepts we discussed are much bigger than the hype that is being sold by some gimmicky plays out there. These early pieces are important to building up the industry, but really we're piece by piece recreating the human mind and body. From a societal standpoint, if all of you don't go out and get involved in talking about this and considering the impacts on our communities and our jobs, then we could end up developing lopsided, with some people being pushed out of society. We could experience a backlash against all things automated. This is even happening with my beloved scooters. People, because cities don't support the infrastructure for them, are actually breaking them and destroying them and dedicating Instagram accounts to destroying them. Another consequence that I mentioned earlier is that we could make all these machines and they get better and smarter and faster than us, and they eventually resent us. Or we could end up creating an amazing system that takes all of the best pieces of this, but one coronal mass ejection from the sun cripples our entire system of electronics. Something like that hasn't happened in 150 years, and guess what? We haven't had electronics that long. But this is where all of you really come in. The creatives in Creative Mornings. You guys are the people that see networks emerge in unconnected ways. You're the ones that can spot these problems in society and therefore create solutions that help us become better through these chaotic times. We need to get creative about how science and technology can be used to help people. Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, who has advanced AI investment in education in the US and China, showed a graph at a talk a few weeks ago about how AI is going to eliminate jobs from trucking to radiology in 5, 10, 15 years. The one area it's not going to touch, creativity, because you can't teach a computer creativity. He also said that as these routine jobs go away, that maybe our existence shouldn't have been tied to them. Maybe that's something that just happened because of the Industrial Revolution. Maybe those jobs can be performed better by machines. So what do? When you take creativity, this optimism, and this love for each other that is all we're going to be left with, you have to understand how vital we are to it. A computer can do a lot of things better, but it can't solve uniquely human problems. And even if it can, it's not going to take the same compassionate approach that we might. We need to be at the table, in our communities, at our jobs, as we discuss these seismic shifts ahead of us. Only by being engaged and working together can we make sure this technology expresses itself in the best way. We want to create a more equitable, better connected, safer, and united planet out of these 5 A's. We don't want the bad things that I was naming. So, we started on the Greek word for the order of the universe. We dove into how chaotic our world is. And now, all of you, go out there and start adapting. Thank you very much.